Good morning and welcome to the INSS podcast. And today, this morning, after another violent cycle in the Gaza Strip and the envelope around the Gaza Strip, due to the death of the Palestinian prisoner Adnan. And we are asking ourselves if something actually has been changed or we are in the same situation, what actually has happened here, and who eventually dictates the rules of the game. Is it Hamas or is it Israel? And what are going to be the possible ramifications and consequences? Here with me, Yohanan Tzoreff, our expert regarding the Palestinian arena. And I would like to address you, Yohanan, the question with regard to your interpretation or your understanding with regard to the events of the last night and this morning, and to the question who eventually dictates the rules of the game and what are the meanings of this this dictation.
I think that if we want to check this issue from the strategic point of view, we have to look to the policy of the both sides in this dispute, in this conflict. But if you want to look about what happened yesterday, I think that the problem is a local problem, because this prisoner, Khader Adnan, he is very well known for the Israeli security system, and he has been come and go in the Israeli prisoners for a long time, and he make this strike many times, and he succeeded in embarrass Israel during his strikes and became a hero in the Palestinian side. Now he tried to impose this issue also on his own organization, on the gap on the Jihad Islamic, and the Israeli as well. So the both sides felt during this strike that something is going to happen if this person will die. So I think that the Jihad Islami was imposed to react, and he also succeeded in recruiting Hamas to this issue because the issue of prisoners, a died prisoner, is very, very sensitive in the Palestinian arena. This is the reason why they started to launch rocket against Israel and began another round of confrontation between the both sides. This is if we want to look at it from the tactical point of view. But if you want to talk about the strategic, I think that you have to say something else.
So let's try to go to the strategic level, and I would like to have your opinion about the reflection of this violent cycle, or the reflection of the rules of the game as they have been set between Hamas and Israel, the idea of deterrence and the reflection of this deterrence vis-a-vis the broader region, mainly with regard to Hezbollah. And talking about the strategic level and generally speaking about the Palestinian arena, I would like to have your idea about the zero-sum game that we have between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority as such, and understanding that any sort of strengthening process of Hamas is a weakening process of the Palestinian Authority, and what, in your eyes, are the ramifications with regard to the Palestinian Authority, its status and its future, and what would be the ramifications of this last round with regard to the broader region?
Look, from my point of view, Israel were and still the main player between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. This is the only player that can change the relationship between both sides. I think that Israel itself is dealing with a very sensitive problem. From one side, Israel has no intention to occupy Gaza again and to control the citizens of Gaza again, because it has a lot of price that Israel is not ready to pay. From the other side, we find Israel since 2009 without any intention to make any political process with the Palestinians. So if you continue in this situation, no using power in Gaza Strip and not pushing forward the idea of peace treaty or any solution, political solution with the Palestinian Authority, it means that you leave the Palestinian arena in a very humiliation situation, let's say, humiliated situation, okay? So in this case, you have to deal with every side alone and to pay the prices for every side in its own currency, okay? Now, this is, I think, the situation that we live with it. Hamas, in this case, because it became stronger than it was before, became the side that earned more than the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority became very weak since 2009. And I think that in this case, we have to re-estimate our policy, our strategy about how to deal with the Palestinian arena.
So I would like to conclude with two insights that actually I have from our short discussion. The first one is the absence of a broad strategic vision of Israel with regard to the Palestinian arena, and with the absence of such a strategic vision, actually we are pretty or quite limited with regard to our military options vis-a-vis Hamas, because there is no any sort of strategic prospect to hit Hamas militarily in a much heavier manner without having any sort of strategic purpose with regard to the Palestinian arena as a whole, generally speaking. And the outcome of the absence of the strategic vision in this case is that we are dragged by Hamas, and Hamas is able to dictate the rules of the game. And this is something that also reflects to the entire region, and I think that it affects also the deterrence equations vis-a-vis the other players in the region. The second insight that I have is that the current government, as well as the previous governments, at least in the last decade, they have a sort of a strategic vision with regard to the Palestinian arena. And the strategic vision is that this is the less worst option that we have among the other options. And therefore, we have to keep the current situation from around to around, from friction to friction, from escalation to escalation, because all the other options are much worse than this option. But the governments, including this government, has no, or they are not there to tell this truth to the public, and therefore the gaps of expectations between the public and the government are growing, are broadening. The level of frustration becomes higher, and the pressures and the political pressures on the government are heavier, and Israel actually drags itself to a sort of a strategic stalemate. So, so I assume that this will not be the last podcast or discussion about such an escalation or such a violent round, and we will meet in the next podcast. Thank you very much, Yohanan.
Thank you very much.